Part 2. Principle number 5 of the Dhandho method: bet heavily when the odds are overwhelmingly in your favor. In investing, there's no such thing as a sure bet. But as a Dhandho investor, when you come across a high probability bet, you want to bet heavily. With the Patel Motel example, the Patels saw an opportunity with a huge upside and very limited downside, and they jumped on it. They had an opportunity to buy a motel with only $5,000 of their own money, borrow the rest, and potentially make huge profits. Even though $5,000 was their entire life savings, the odds were so good that they went all in. If you find a company that has a simple business model with a strong moat, it's under temporary distress, and the stock price has collapsed so much that you can buy it for less than half of the intrinsic value, then Monhish recommends that you bet heavily. Because with a setup like that, you have a high probability of huge success and a very low probability of moderate failure. The Dhandho framework is all about examining the odds. As Charlie Munger once said, the wise ones bet big when they have the odds, and the rest of the time, they don't. It's just that simple. In the book, Monhish also explains something called the Kelly formula, which is a simple mathematical formula that tells you exactly how much of your money to bet on any one investment opportunity. The formula is based on calculating the odds, and it was made infamous by Ed Thorpe, an MIT math professor who used it to make a killing playing blackjack in Las Vegas casinos. Although investing is not the same as playing blackjack, thinking probabilistically and betting big in high probability situations is the main takeaway of this fifth Dhandho investing principle. Principle number 6 is to focus on arbitrage. Arbitrage is a fancy term for riskless profit. An example of arbitrage is if gold is trading at $600 per ounce in London and $610 per ounce in New York City, so you buy it in London and sell it in New York for a profit. And then there's Dhandho style arbitrage. The Patel Motel is a perfect example, because the whole family lived and worked in the motel. The Patels had virtually no overhead. There were no salaries to pay, so they were able to offer rooms at the cheapest prices, while still maintaining good profits. They had an arbitrage spread over all their competitors. Other examples of Dhandho arbitrage spread in action are category killers like Walmart, Home Depot, and Geico. Each of these companies has a unique situation that allows them to make more money than all of their competitors. The arbitrage spread is essentially another way of describing a moat. And Monhish teaches that if you find a Dhandho style arbitrage spread like the Patel Motel, or Walmart, or Geico, then you should milk it for all it's worth. Principle #7 is to buy businesses at big discounts to their intrinsic value. This is also called investing with a margin of safety. Remember the gas station example? After estimating the cash flows and the gas station's intrinsic value, you realized that you could buy it for a lot less than what it's worth, a price of $500,000 vs. the intrinsic value of $768,000. The difference between the price and the value is your margin of safety. Because the future is full of uncertainty, and even the best estimates of cash flow can turn out to be wrong, Dhandho investing teaches you to only buy companies at a steep discount to underlying value. This gives you a margin of safety. As Benjamin Graham said, the function of the margin of safety is to render unnecessary an accurate estimate of the Future. In other words, investing with a margin of safety protects you from the unknown, because no one, not even the best investor, can predict the future with 100% certainty. Principle number 8, look for low risk, high uncertainty businesses. The best Dhandho style opportunities have a combination of low risk, high uncertainty. The low risk component makes it a conservative bet to take, and the high uncertainty component allows for a big potential payoff. Other combos are high risk, high uncertainty, or low risk, low uncertainty. You don't want to invest in high risk, high uncertainty businesses, because that's just gambling. You also don't want low risk, low uncertainty, because there's no potential for high gains there. So you want that ideal combo of low risk, high uncertainty. The Patel Motel was the perfect low risk, high uncertainty business, because all that was at risk was the $5,000 down payment. So even in the worst case scenario, there wasn't that much to lose, yet there was huge potential for upside. Low risk and high uncertainty is the ideal combination for the Dhandho investing framework. Principle number 9. Invest in the copycats rather than the innovators. The Dhandho framework recognizes that innovation is a crapshoot, whereas taking an already proven idea and scaling it is much more reliable. When the first Patel bought a small motel and found some success, other Patel relatives copied him and bought their own motels. Pretty soon, Patels copied this model all over the United States, because it was a proven idea, and thus very little risk. The proof that the copycat strategy works is in the numbers. 1 out of every 5 motels in the United States is owned by a Patel. If this worked for a small group of refugees who came to the US with nothing, then I'd say it's a pretty good strategy. Other examples of hugely successful companies that were copycats rather than innovators are McDonald's and Microsoft. Both of these companies actually did not have any original ideas, but they were successful because they were good at executing and scaling. The founder of McDonald's, Ray Kroc, modeled his restaurants after an extremely successful hamburger stand in California. Microsoft licensed their flagship product from a company called Seattle Computer. They didn't actually invent it on their own. Since the Dhandho tagline is heads I win, tails I don't lose much, Monhish recommends investing in the companies that know how to be good copycats of a proven idea.